Got yeah. No pressure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, good to know.
Tell us.
You did it.
I did just the power.
Your sandals. Say.
Oh. But. Oh, it's there. There it is.
It is super faint. It's coming, it's coming. It's whirling up.
There it is. Good job. Good job, Ian.
All right, let's get started. Welcome to the June meeting of the Highlandtown Community Association. First, as is our custom, do we have any new residents? Anybody like to introduce themselves? Sylvia? I don't know that the people here know you, but do you want to say hi and who you are and where you're from?
Hi. Yes, good evening. Yeah, my name is Danilo 500 and I represent the community, Latino community.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
We try to represent it. So my name is Danilo 500. And I'm a member from the church as well.
You remember?
No, I'm not made the next one. We're part of the church.
Yeah.
Well,
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate.
Please. You're welcome here. We want more representation of the Latino community.
I appreciate it.
And bringing lots and lots of people. And we've tried in the past to have interpretation services, and it hasn't worked out for a lot of logistical reasons, but you know, if we have the representation, maybe they can help each other out a little bit and ask questions amongst themselves. And if we can find a way to do it, we can start to have some translation, because it's very really awesome. So welcome and
Over here.
thank you.
All right.
Anybody else want to introduce themselves? Go ahead.
I'm Paul Smith, just purchased a home on 204 Concord Street, back in the early part of June. So you guys on the web, so decided to drive. I got here definitely.
Okay.
The wife also is at work, so but you'll see her next time.
What was your name again?
Paul Smith.
Paul Smith.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, Paul.
Well,
Thank you.
For your information and for anybody online, we do not meet in July and August. So we're back again in September. These meetings are also available. You can find a link on the website, and you can attend these meetings virtually as well. So, and they're also recorded, so you can go back and watch them there. So, lots of ways to participate. We have a presenter tonight is the Baltimore Development Corporation. Is there somebody here from the BDC yet? They're going to be here in person. They asked if they could attend virtually, and I said, well, we very much prefer that our presenters show up in person. And as of this morning, I mean, I know we've had some communication, so I expect them. Before we get to them, and the presenters always go on at the end of the meeting unless they rest otherwise, and they have a good, strong reason to like that at the end of the meeting. So we'll just go through a few things and wait to see if they come. We do only have one presenter tonight, so this might be a little bit brief. First off, the MTA, the Maryland Transit Association, has presented here before about a program to electrify all the buses in the East District. They all operate out of the bus yard over on Eastern Avenue by 895. They're planning a major expansion over there within the footprint of the space that they've already got. But they are going to be buildings and things to service the coming electric bus fleet. They're having an open house on June 28th. That is from 4 to 6 at Icarus Restaurant. It's an open house. You don't have to be there at 4. You can drop in. You can pick up whatever information might be of interest to you. And there will be people to ask questions, answer questions for you, and some other things that will be from I say 4 to 6, which, to be honest, I think is a little short-sighted. I think they should be at least 7 o'clock because a lot of people it's hard for them to make it by 6. But there it is, and if anybody's got any interest in just going to that, I'm going to try to pop in at the very end, see what I can find, and maybe I'll have something to share. I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
Could you repeat the location?
Icarus Restaurant is on Eastern Avenue at the corner of
Oldham,
Oldham, maybe? Oldham?
Here's the calls.
around,
Yeah, it's right kind of in the heart of Greektown. As you're heading east, it's on the right far side of a traffic light intersection, which actually is right across the street from where the bus project will be taking place. So worthwhile for anybody who's interested in bus riding, and worthwhile for anybody who's just kind of on public transportation or like I am. So, yeah, there's that. Second off, we are having our second was to be annual crab feast until COVID struck and some other things. Bobby Joe, you want to come up and
yes,
chat a little bit? And can you pull up there's a crab slide.
Hi, everybody. I'm BJ. I'm the Vice President of the Community Association. First, I'm going to welcome our new neighbors. Who never want to leave. Second thing is the crab feast is coming up in September. We did it one time on the street. And it was the hottest day of the year, and we still had 110 people. 110 degrees. It was horrible. Yeah, so we're doing it this year at Tiffany's on Lombard Street. So for all of you new neighbors, you need to join Highlandtown Neighbors and join Highlandtown Student. Then you find out what we do in the neighborhood. We do a lot of fun stuff. I see.
What was the second one you said?
Highlandtown Student.
They're on Facebook.
On Facebook, yeah, don't do Instagram. I have no idea what I'm doing on there. So the crab feast is $70. All you can eat crabs, crab soup, meatballs, fried chicken, salads, pasta, meat tray, beer, wine, a lot of stuff. For 4 hours. So I would love for you all to advertise it. And let's just make it work again. The last one was so much fun. It was just so hot. And then on another note, we need more members to step up. Neighbors, members, we need some help. Community association needs some help. So if you can just spare a couple hours and like, hey, let's do this one day, let's do this one day. Maybe we should do that. Let's put a block party. Yeah, money for a block party, right? Let's do that. So if any of you want to just moved in or do block party or street, reach out to Brian at Highlandtown 21224@gmail. We will support a block party and just have fun. Okay. You're like, yeah. Well,
For those who were not at the crab feast, what was it, 4 years ago? Pre-COVID.
That's right.
pre-COVID,
Yeah, 19, yes.
Yeah.
It was a super fun time, very good time. We were selling tickets at the door when we did not intend to sell tickets. There was lots of food. We had tents from the city. It was a lot of work, and Bobby, Jim, and Tyler did 99% of that work. And we all had a great time. And it really, it's events like those that kind of put the shine in the neighborhood and bring people out. To Bobby Joe's point about getting engaged with the community, we have money. We have an account that holds a significant amount of money. There'll be a little bit more discussion on that later. But this is our money, and like Bobby Joe said, we support projects within the neighborhood. So if you want to do a tree planting on your block, if you want to build tree pit surrounds to tidy up your block, if you want to mulch, anything of that sort, if you're lighting projects, any ideas at all, or something you'd like to do for a block project, we can help you fund that project. We can also help you fund a block party or something that's sort of associated with that project. We do like to spend our block party money in conjunction with some sort of a civic, engagement kind of thing, like tree maintenance and that kind of thing, neighborhood cleanups, that kind of thing. But if you want to do something in your block, do something that is wider than that, or anything of the sort, we can support you in some fashion. Some cases, if it's straight up block party, we like the residents of the block have some investment in the project beyond just sweat equity. But we appreciate that too, and we can definitely help bring things out, food and try to bring tables, bring our other resources together. So it's a great way to get people involved in the neighborhood, and we encourage everybody to do it because this money that we have, it's our money. It's our money. Let's use it for something good. And one of those good things is just to meet your neighbors, right? Just get out and be engaged. So good stuff. The other thing that is coming up, Keith, you want to talk about the basement bar tour a little bit? That slide, there is a slide.
Hey, everybody, how's it going? So I am Keith Gibson, and I, along with my beautiful, wonderful partner, Sarah Wong, back there, have the pleasure of organizing the annual Highlandtown Basement Bar Tour. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it is essentially a home tour throughout Highlandtown over the course of the day, where every host house that signs up with us provides some kind of alcoholic beverage, some kind of food, and you kind of get a map where you sign up, pay your fee, and you wander around the neighborhood and hit each home that's on there. So imagine like 7, 8 house parties all happening simultaneously, and you're invited to all. And you get to walk from each one to the other with a whole bunch of neighbors, friends that you haven't met yet. At the end of that, there is a reception that we hold. Talk about that later, but there's a reception at the end where there's also alcohol and food, and we just kind of continue the party until around 8 o'clock at night. We're about 5 months away. It happens in November. You can see on the slide up there, I believe it's the 11th. I can't see it from here, but we're kind of throwing out a save the date now. So I know we're a little ways away from it, but we're trying to get a head start and let everybody know when it's happening so we can start to pull in more hosts, because the more host houses that we have, the bigger of a party we can have, and the more attendees we can allow to attend. I think that kind of covers it. I just wanted to jump up here and say something before we went on break for the next couple of months, but this information will also be on our website, highlandtown.com. And you can also find our contact information in there if you have any questions or if you're interested in hosting. So yeah, I think that's it for now, but I'm going to be up here chilling this every meeting until it happens. So this was your intro. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Keith. So speaking of events, we pull up the wine fest. So the granddaddy of all the Highlandtown events that we've hosted has been the Highlandtown Wine Festival. And we hosted the first one since pre-pandemic was it last month? It was May, yeah.
May.
was a little later than it usually has been in the past. We just were a little slow getting things off the ground, and it was a little haphazard is sort of the case with any time you try to pull off a big event with all volunteers who have day jobs and other things to do. But I have to tell you, for anybody who went, by a show of hands, how many people came? How many people were here? So it's okay. Some significant number of people I know that were away. Some of our regular, they are. Some of our regular volunteers were all out of town for a wedding the same weekend and weren't able to make it. So we called all of our friends and just begged and pleaded for people to come out and help us to, pour wine and to manage the front gate and to do some other things. And we all had our fingers crossed right up until the last minute, and was just hoping that this thing would come off, because previous to the pandemic, we had one and it was a rainy day, and we actually lost money that year because we just didn't have a walk-up business at the door. So we were all a little apprehensive, a little bit nervous beforehand, and day of show, I'm telling you, man, everybody came out. It was just a fabulous time. It is, for anyone who's not been to a wine festival like you've never seen anywhere else, it's the local wine. It's literally homemade wine. It is literally on the street in Highlandtown. It is our vendors are mostly local artisans who are selling their things, and all of the volunteers. There's one she knows. And all the volunteers and everybody who's working there. I mean, it is just a hyper local event. And we had, I don't even know how many people I completely forgot how many people we had come in. I spent half my afternoon working at the door. Go ahead.
Next year, the Love of Regret does her firefighter chili cook-off, so they want to know, like in January, February, what our date is, so we don't do it on the same day.
Right.
This
We're
is
usually in
it was
April.
the same day this.
Yeah.
This year, it was the same day.
We had a conflict this year with
Yeah.
Love and Regret had their big chili cook-off, which benefits firefighters. And also where the event literally, 8 blocks down the same street on Conline.
Right.
And they were doing something the same day, and I hope theirs was a success. Ours was, in spite of the overlap. As I said, we were several weeks behind than we typically are, just because we didn't get our act together early enough. So that's not what we would normally have. I think typically it's the end of April.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were just tons of people out. Everybody had a wonderful time. The band was great. And what we brought in a little over $4,000 for the community association.
4,300.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I think we have pennies.
oh, I thought we burned through all the glasses, because at the very end, we were giving out paper cups or plastic cups to people. We ran out of the official souvenir wine glasses. So, and there were actually, now that I'm thinking that, we had 750 glasses and they were gone, and a few to breakage, I'm sure. But yeah, so we were, somewhere between 700 and 800 people who attended, and we brought in, 4,000 plus for the community association. And that's been kind of a big one. The other big one that we have, as Keith noted, was the basement bar tour, which is coming back around this year. And Keith, how much did we bring in last year? Do you recall?
Wine festival?
The basement bar tour.
It was after expenses and everything, I would say it's like 2,500.
Yeah. So $2,500, and
Don't we have the Easter egg hunt?
the Easter egg hunt brought in money. We had the adult Easter egg hunt was this year. $960. $960 on the plus side. These are the kind of events that allow us, that brings in money for us to do the other things that we talked about earlier. And it also, possibly more important than that, it brings people in from outside of the neighborhood. And I have invited people to come to these events before, and they would, come and they bring their friends and say it's a great place. And then they come back and they patronize our restaurants, our bars, and I can name at least a few people who bought homes in the neighborhood because we showed a welcoming and lovely light on our neighborhood. So, it's great on many fronts. It was really good for us to have a year in black this year, because we had a couple of years of deficit spending with the pandemic and such. So the other thing we had was Blockenstein. John, you want to come up and talk about Blockenstein a little bit? And there's a slide here for this to slideshow.
Sorry, I'm just helping the.
Wow, it's great to see all these events coming back. It's gonna be nice to be here. Living here in Highlandtown. So on June 3rd, we had a lot of sign. I'm John Eddie, by the way. And it was 15 days, done this for 15 years. We closed all 2 streets, 2 full streets in Highlandtown. Our neighbors and friends found, and for free, they're able to sell. Some of them in basements, some of them in homes. Really cool stuff. Most important, most important comment I heard was someone on the phone saying, "You got to get down here, you will not believe the prices." And at the rate I was actually on some lines, like, so I ready to see this. We have a slideshow, it's only 25 minutes. So it's only 2 minutes. It's work.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
It's a research on.
It's nice. And I think before we have people we never met, we're not going to speed up the streets, pulling weeds, cleaning up the streets, setting up all the small wars and everything. Just a really nice day. People I've never met before come out with what I think the best. People I don't know. I know the town really well. Been here 15 years. But when we come, still got that confidence. Still got that confidence. Yes.
Now it's $8.
I have 6 options. I'm stopping your ass.
Yeah, now it's $10.
Yes. So those items were for sale, and the ones that I bought.
Sorry.
Lots of old out there. You go on the door. That's my little dog. All kinds of strange dogs today in this town. Some eaters. That was JD, one of her members. Nice family came up on bikes.
Yeah.
Really nice to have, please come out, please, sign up for spots. That's actually the easy part, getting people to sign up. We always need buyers to come out. Because people have other stuff out, they want to sell everything. One last thing, we do have 2 things at the end. We have a community barbecue. And we also bring in the American Veterans Truck. And anything that was sold and you want to donate, right on the spot, and then float the truck with stuff that comes out to make money for the American vets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. And all these events we've been talking about are fundraisers, or at least, intended to be so, with the exception of Blockenstein, which is something that we fund out of our general fund, buy food and whatever the permits are and that kind of thing. So when you participate with a fundraiser in the Highlandtown Community Association, you're actually supporting things like that. And if anyone has any ideas, something else they would like to do, there's where it goes, right? There's where the money comes from is, the wine festival, the baseball bar tour, these things of that sort. So, all right, so I am going to open up the floor to the board. Does anybody on the board have anything that's been discussed already? And
I was just curious about the BG universe. I knew that there was part of that and was point. And then the case join along.
so Ann is asking about the BGE has a program where they're going to be replacing the gas meters on homes, I presume citywide over the course of a long period of time. It's created significant controversy in Fells Point and in some other neighborhoods because BGE is not communicated very well. They have put the meter hardware in front of homes and people aren't very happy about the appearance. They're ugly. People are concerned about the safety of it in that, we're a row house community and the fronts of our houses are literally a sidewalk away from moving traffic. And if a car should leave the roadway and crash into a house, that could be a danger. And, there's a lot of unanswered questions and BG has not been very forthcoming in how they're handling things. So there is a petition that is on our website. That's www.highlandtown.com. There's a petition there that you can sign. I presume that link is still live. Do you know, John? It's been a couple months.
You checked it.
He's checking now to see if that link is, if that petition is still.
Yeah, it's still there. There's a picture of the meter.
Okay. You can see a picture there. Yeah, Bobby Joe.
So would there be a way that we get the Patterson Park and Canton neighborhoods and us to come together with a meeting at BGD out there
Well,
and tell them that we don't want this?
where there has been, I had an email on Friday, I think, about a meeting on Friday. Where they were gonna pull some people together and come up with a plan. And I replied, honestly, I didn't see it till after the meeting was over. So there was whoever organized it, I forget who it was, gave us virtually no notice to have somebody there, let alone a bunch of people there. I did ask that they send on some more information to us. We have something to go on. And what I see happening is the Highlandtown Community Association writing a letter to BGE in conjunction with the other communities that are doing similar things and saying, hey, we have concerns and we want you to slow your roll until something is done. That much said, the system is, like any other system is ripe for upgrades. I mean, things wear out, things become antiquated as technology evolves, and they want to do some things. So it's, as Bobby Joe said, the meters are not terribly attractive. I drove by some today, and I think the planters I have in front of my house would block them. And from an appearance point of view, I'm not too concerned about it, but a lot of people are. It's, from my point of view, it's mostly a communication thing. And are there options besides having this thing put in front of their house for the people who clearly don't want it? And what I want is just more communication so that we can all make a good decision. And that's what we're not getting now. So that will hopefully change.
Just for the sake of clarity, with these new meters, I'm assuming that includes the total removal of the meter within your home. Is that an accurate assumption?
I don't know. Keith is asking, does that mean that they are removing the meter from within the home? And
So they've done it on crack between Elwood and.
so Jennifer says that she thinks so. It stands to reason that they would.
Yeah.
I think the only alternative, I mean, that meter would become obsolete when another meter is put in its place.
Yeah, part of the, not argument, but part of the reasoning is that removal of the meter in the house limits the amount of dangerous in the home, that was their statement on it.
Yeah.
And the other side, like the important house, like. I'm in favor for my specific, like, home situation. I like the idea of getting it out of my house. What I don't love is the idea of it being on the side of my house exposed to the small yet always possible situation of a car coming over the curb and hitting
Right.
it. Yeah, and I can only. I feel like I can only say that with any kind of confidence because it has happened to my house.
There you go. So Keith's concern is about a wayward vehicle, coming up and striking it and damaging it. And, they have not been forthcoming at all with sharing any information. But I can say that these are gas meters. I mean, they are highly regulated devices. I have got to believe there is some sort of a check valve in there that if suddenly that thing is spewing something, below grade or somewhere along the line is going to trip and get the thing off. I mean, heck, I've got something in my washing machine that if the hose blows, will stop it from flowing. So they're able to do that. But I want to hear it from them. I'm hardly an expert on this, so you want to hear it from them. But I kind of like the idea of getting it out of the house, and that is the argument for them is that you're getting it out of the house. Now, there's still gas coming into your house. So is that meter in your home the most vulnerable piece of gas line in the house?
I think for me, it's more of a space thing. I just like the idea of having the little area of space that's currently taking up.
Yeah.
Again, it's like hyper focused my specific wants for that, but.
Well, and I mean, that's perfectly legitimate. I mean, I have a little closet where mine is, and that's where my skis live. 10 months out of the year, so.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, these are all legitimate concerns, and I'm hoping, I didn't get an email from them today, but I'm hoping that there'll be something this week and we can. Sign on. I will make sure that any updates that we get are posted on the website, and I'll reach out to Nick Zone, who manages the social media stuff, and we'll get it out there too, because we're not going to be having a meeting in the short term, and this is kind of moving project for them. So go ahead.
There's a message from Kat in the chat. None of you for a pedestrian safety project included. We should have a copy of it this week in the installation for August.
Oh, cool. So there's a traffic calming project at the intersection of Eastern and South Elwood. There was a memorandum of understanding, which Kat has just informed us has been approved. And what does she say? Installation likely
August or September.
August or September for the installation. When I say installation, that's going to be striping on the ground and painting of, streetscape like. What's the term I'm looking for here? Mural, like a pavement mural in a bump out, which I presume will have flex posts. Well, definitely have flex posts and painted striping at the crosswalks. And the idea here is twofold. One is to take some ownership of the intersection so that anybody walking by says, "Hey, this is cool. When people on this intersection, they've done something nicer." And the other thing is to slow traffic, and the flex posts, as we've seen elsewhere in the city, while they're not necessarily the most attractive thing, they do trip down lanes of travel, which causes, if not the through traffic to slow down, and causes the turning traffic to slow down, which in turn causes the through traffic to slow down. And we just see, a lot of crazy things, and what drivers will do. And particularly that intersection, if you're going west towards downtown, it's a downhill, through our business district and then through an area that's a little bit more residential, and then park, and people just see that as, they've left the confines of the business district and they're in a wider street and they accelerate and people are crazy with the speeds that they'll travel through there. And we've seen turning vehicles kind of close also, and there's a lot of pedestrian traffic there because it's at the corner of the park. So thanks to Kat for spearheading this, and great news with the MOU, and we're on track for August or September. And that will be a volunteer opportunity to come out and help paint and some other things. And again, because we will not be meeting until the third week of September, keep an eye on social media, keep an eye on the webpage, you know, for an opportunity to come out and have a good time. And we should probably think about funding a barbecue for that too, because, you know, that's the thing. We want people to come out and have a good time and, you know, come out and enjoy the park and meet your neighbors. So thanks, Ken.
Leah Foster just put a link in the chat for the Foster.
Where?
A link to the Baltimore Neighborhood. BG temporary restraining order on the computers. And a banner article on a temporary restraining order for the neighbors.
So apparently there is an article in the Baltimore Banner about a temporary restraining order to BGE to stop what they are doing. There is evidently a link on in the chat. Does that appear on the screen here?
No.
Well,
We will get that up. And can you email that to John? And we'll get that up on the website for people to read and there we go. That'll give us all a little bit of information about that because again, that's been like pulling teeth. So somebody got through some. Anything else from members of the board?
I do have one thing real quick, I forgot. It's okay. So. move. So. If you're in District 2. Which probably most of you are not, there's a new community liaison that just stepped out of the lunch committee this week. This is Danielle McRae's office, so she runs from Columbia Street down to Haven and Beller's. So she's got a lot on her plate. There's a new community liaison that works with her. So maybe you can that this thing, they want to know our issues. So if you can please email us at Highlandtown@gmail. That way we take those issues to her, maybe for this week for lunch. And then if you're in District 1. You can share those issues with C also, and just share it. So please, that issue, we know we have traffic issues, we have adopting issues. I need them all to be on paper. So I can take them to her this week when I meet her. And then they can focus on. So I just want to let you guys know. Okay. Email us at Highlandtown@1224@gmail. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Bobby Joe. I do have one thing that I'm going to mention that gives you kind of an idea, and I will get this in writing to BJ. Mount Pleasant Avenue in that block between Eaton and Grundy, I guess. That block dead ends at the senior center, the Highlandtown Club. And there are a lot of people who will go wrong way on that one-way street on Eaton Avenue. Or I mean on Mount Pleasant Avenue. And we had with Danielle McRae's help, we were able to get flex posts and reverse angle parking on Grundy Street, which narrowed the lane of travel and slowed traffic through the area and provided more parking spaces for the people who live there. So that was kind of a big win for us with the help of the resident on Mount Pleasant. It has not really created another problem, but it's sort of exposed another problem that Mount Pleasant Avenue is one way eastbound and people will come down Grundy and turn right and go westbound on Mount Pleasant. They find themselves in a situation that they're going the wrong direction, they speed up, and they're speeding in the wrong direction. And we're going to ask them for flex posts at that corner that will be set channelized traffic towards the right and make it hard for traffic to make that illegal right turn up Grundy to do that. So that's the kind of thing that we can ask them, and that's true whether it be District 2 at Danielle McRae's office, or District 1 at Z Cohen's office. If we have problems like that, the proper procedure for it is to put a 311 report in and then send the 311 report number to both Danielle McRae's office and to Highlandtown 21224, so we can follow up on it and try to get something done. But thanks, Bobby Jones. I was unaware we had a liaison
Then we would move.
at our office, so good stuff. All right, I think anything from the floor at all? And yeah, go ahead.
Two topics, so maybe just advice was going to be here just really for a month. First was I guess I went to South Park, nearly 1 block down in Spratt. Trash. There was a tree, I guess, in front of my home before it was cut down, so the grass area there. Every morning it was almost half of that trash and picking up. So I called 311 last week. They said it was going to bring a trash can from the street for the next 7 days. I got a call this morning that said trash cans only go on street to have buses. Is there any, what's the solution?
That's not,
There isn't, right?
none, just keep picking it up.
I didn't think so. All right, the next situation is at that same corner. Have quite a few friends I've discovered the past week, soliciting individuals and also consuming certain products. I walked by this morning in a little cubby hole industrial bar. I think it's down there doing some type of drug or something. I've seen them there several times. You have to put trash back behind the house where they live that I empty out. And I power wants to get a truck coming over there. So do we just call 311 to send out there? Because they're there at that corner. Those 3 empty businesses, to me, is just a magnet. For this. If I think there was occupied, it would be a problem. Has this been addressed before, or how it's been happening? Because those spaces kind of old. They have been run down for a while, so I'm not sure is anything happening there, or is a solution for how do we get it?
Well, this has been a problem for a while, and that the Cochran Street corridor specifically has been a problem for a long time, and all 3 businesses, 3 corners, 3 out of 4 corners there are unoccupied. The bar has been occupied sporadically, but the building just to the north of the bar was a pool hall at one time, and my understanding is that it has been closed for decades. Family will not get off it forever. Not sure what the answer is there. The building isn't in bad condition and it's not exposed to, there's nobody appears to be getting entry to the building. But they've just been unwilling to get off of it. My thought at this point is that my understanding is that they're elderly people, and sooner or later that property will change hands, and hopefully it will be, the building's in good shape.
Right.
My hope is that somebody will buy it and turn it into something, but they've got to get off of that. But in the meantime, they're paying property tax.
Well, from what I've heard, that people did try to buy it,
We'll try.
but the owners are just not selling, they're just gonna let it sit there.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
Sure,
the
they'll
street
make
workers on Cochran and that road have gotten more prevalent. Every day,
Yeah.
they're moving up further, they're coming all the way up by right before Salio's.
are they again.
They're all up Cochran by the church.
Baltimore Safe Haven was an organization that worked with
Yeah,
sex workers and were targeting our Cochran Street corridor several years ago. I have not heard from them for a while. It did appear for a good while that most of that activity had been driven towards the north, but now evidently they're creeping
Can we find a way to contact them though, because we have a lot on contact.
Well, let's do that. I mean, I don't see
We should
it,
contact Safe Haven.
but we can contact Safe Haven. We can also reach out to Councilman Cohen's office.
And McCray.
And Daniel McRae's office, because literally the WL line down the middle of Concrete Street is the dividing line between District 1 and District 2.
Yes,
Doesn't make any sense, but that's where it is. We have not had much luck in getting support on that. A lot of people with the city have said, well, we're gonna bring out some services for these women and some other things, and you know, it never seems to get any traction because the person who we'd be targeting with services, people are often just not interested. Obviously, there's a lot of addiction and other things at play there, and they you know, when you've got an addiction like that, you're probably a lot more interested in where your next hit's coming from than where that, you know, taking advantage of the services, that kind of thing. So it's been a real problem. But, and I don't know that I recall this a bright note, but new state's attorney Ivan Bates has reversed the policies of the previous state's attorney Marilyn Mosby, and they are now going to start going after smaller level crimes, which means now the police will be free to take some more actions there. And you know, as has been discussed in this room many times, it's really hard to make something illegal for somebody who has absolutely nothing to lose. And most of these women have absolutely nothing to lose. They really don't. It's very sad. My take on it all along, if you feel like writing your councilman, my take on it all along has been we've got to focus on the clientele. And because, you know, to me, these women are victims and the clientele are predators. And I think we need to pitch it exactly like that. I pitched it exactly that way to Councilman Cohen and to other people and said that, you know, these are predators. We need to handle them as such. One argument that you will get is that you don't know what the home situation is for these people, and if they, the clientele, I mean, if they are arrested or it causes some strife in their own homes, now you've kicked the can down the road and into another community and generated some potential violence in another home, which I understand, but I think that is not a reason to not address the situation. That's my take on it. That I would.
and the Leverton Concrete Street across from the garden, the drug action is starting to show up again. Have you seen that, Ian? They're on Dorsey's too. On that corner, there's a lot of that.
I-
I need to keep an eye on that too.
So with that in mind, my suggestion to you would be to 311 it. If you see, here's the distinction between 311 and 911. 311 is if you need city service, pothole, street light, anything of that sort that needs to be dealt with, or a police issue that is not an emergency. That's a 311 thing. If you see something that's dangerous right now, that's a 911 thing. And I would say use both often when you see something going on. And when you go to 311, they will give you a report number. Take that report number and email it to Highlandtown 21224 Gmail, and your city councilman who you're on the east side of.
One door from the bar, so,
On Conklin.
yeah.
Okay, so you're in District 1, that's Councilman Cohen's office. Email those report numbers to him. And this is actually a good time to do that because it's election season. Coming into it, he's running for city council president. So I think it's a really good time to lean on him a little bit, just say, hey, guy, we need some attention here. Kurt?
Hey, I just put it in. Small.
I saw it online this afternoon. He's about to get it.
We trying to do that.
Try and release.
I guess it is. Where's that exact size? Oh, beat them to it, because they have no sense, but we're good.
So the body, you can write exactly what your issues were. She's getting the background. She can bring that into the, plus you, stuff that. Yeah, you know, that's, I said, so what in our neighborhood, my house, we do have this issue.
But I will take all concerns to Danielle this week. And if it's not her district, we will tag Zeke in it, we'll get it fixed. It'll take them some time, but they don't. Danielle tries really hard, but we got speed bumps. It took us 2 years. We got speed bumps. So it's just baby steps, but they do care, so you just let us know what you need. And then I can reach out to those that are in charge of those areas and we'll go from there.
And the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we might have to do.
Takes a village,
Submission, takes it,
takes a village.
sounds happy. Keith, did you have something?
I was just gonna, as a suggestion mentioned regarding our track. I cannot remember his name, Doctor.
Very lovely.
That's it, yeah. That this gentleman that works for the city is making 5 additions. It was the horrible tragedy in the city. So we have this information really available.
I have his phone number off this, so we created sure.
That's, I would.
I'm gonna write this down and give it to you right.
I called him all the time, and it was for you. He's not all there. I'm gonna be honest, full transparency. He'll call me 3 days later. You call me? Yeah. I texted you too, but you will get it done. So it might take some time, but you will get it done. So I will also give his information. On our video, so I'm ready. We saw trash. Larry Nutley,
But it's Larry,
Dr. Larry Nutley.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to go, yeah.
And I also have another number from TBW, his name is Keith. I think Keith is better than Larry. I'll get that too.
so, but I will tell you something about the city, the street side trash cans. If you're in a neighborhood where people are not terribly diligent about their trash. When they see a city can on the corner that's supposed to have a routine pickup. They will often take their personal household trash and put it in that can, and when that can gets full, they put it next to the can. And if there's food scraps in a bag, those bags are gonna open up. So that's a particularly tough issue, and I have been banging on Councilman Cullen for literally years. To get some stepped up enforcement with DPW, we've been kind of nibbling around the edges with that. But to me, the argument against stepped up enforcement is you're going to be penalizing somebody who doesn't have money to penalize. And my answer to that is you start with warnings. Right? But we've got to ask for stepped up enforcement, because otherwise it's granting permission for people to carry on bad behavior. And the fact is, for a lot of people who do that kind of thing, they often just don't know any better. It's really easier to do the right thing than it is to do the wrong thing. But if you're in the habit of doing the wrong thing, your neighbors are in the habit of doing the wrong thing, that's all you ever see. There you go. They're just going to get down that road. So trash is going to be particularly stubborn problem.
And how do we go about getting recycling picked up every week? I'm busted out the seeds.
Well, that's an ongoing issue, and that just has to do with public works just not having the staffing and money, and public works has been a hot mess for quite a long time. Then the pandemic really threw the wrenches into that. And they have not recovered yet, but they are working on getting that done. And going back to weekly recycling is probably the biggest DPW related complaint there is. So they're focused on that. I'm sure it's coming as soon as they have the resources. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that just as a comment related to that, I was recently applying to work with the Baltimore City like data program stuff. And so at their test, they made me do a bunch of like DPW related like 311 request stuff. And it's really funny because you see on the graph of like their ability to keep up with tickets. 2017 does fine, and then it just dips for the March of 2018 and never recovers. So just one of those things.
Sure, those are it. Just share it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was very, like, it was funny for me being like, oh. And then just like, ever since I moved here, I moved here about a year ago, and it was just like, wow, the second half picked up, like, on people. Yeah, it's just, even from 2018, you can see just like, it's a very steep decline in terms of how quickly they get things. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a particularly sticky thing. But again, that's the kind of thing where if you're having problems, email your councilman. Again, we're coming into election season and Councilman Cohen's running for city council president. This is a good time to lean on him. It's a really good time. So, all right, anything else from the floor? All right, Alex, you're up. So Alex is from the Baltimore Community Development Corporation, and we do have a slideshow here. As well.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Flinskis. As Brian said, I'm with Baltimore Development Corporation. I am the Economic Development Officer for Southeast Baltimore, and I'm just here today to tell you guys a little bit about who we are, what we offer to businesses, and how I can be a resource to you and the businesses in the Highlandtown community. So, next slide. That's good. So Baltimore Development Corporation is the economic development agency for the city of Baltimore. Our mission is to grow the city's economy and in an inclusive manner by retaining, expanding, and attracting businesses and promoting investment. And in doing this work, we're committed to a more equitable economy by supporting minority and women-owned businesses and promoting investment in neighborhoods that have been historically impacted by institutional racism and generational poverty. I'll note that if you're more interested in learning about the city's comprehensive economic development strategy, it's posted online at baltimoretogether.com and is the economic development strategy that will be guiding our city for the next few years. They're revised every several years. Next slide. So I'll go into a few of the assistance programs that we have for businesses. Next slide. One of the first ways in which we can offer support to businesses is by providing business and technical assistance. So we kind of want to be a one-stop shop for businesses who are seeking help navigating, operating their businesses and public processes. So this applies to anyone who already exists in the city or is looking to relocate or expand in the city. So one way that we help do that is to just sort of help with public processes. If there's any aspect of city government that you as a business owner are struggling with, we can see what we can do to help you. And even if we're not the ones, odds are we won't be the ones responsible for that process, but we can try and connect you with the people who help. So that can look like if you're having trouble with permitting, if you're having trouble with DPW, we can see where we can help move you along on that. We also help businesses with site selection. We can help them explore real estate options as they look for new sites for their business. And we can help business and property owners through applying for tax credits, help them figure out what they might be a good fit for. So I like to say, when in doubt, if you think we might be able to be of help, just ask. It doesn't hurt to see if there's some way we can be of help. Next slide. One of our main forms of financial assistance is our facade improvement grant. And this is a grant program that we offer to help businesses transform their facade and their storefront. So this can either be existing businesses who are looking to have a pretty complete transformation of their storefront, or new businesses who are just moving into a space and need help getting signage going. Brian knows that Highlandtown Main Street works with us to approve all of our facade improvement grants and their design. So we work closely with Southeast CDC and the folks at Highlandtown Main Street. Next slide. Our citywide FIG is our most common program, and that provides up to $7,500 in matching funds reimbursement to commercial properties in Baltimore City. We have some less common programs that we also have are the vacant corner property FIG. So that's for projects that have a minimum investment of $50,000 and meet that specific criteria. And then also our industrial FIG, which is up to $15,000 for industrial zone businesses with a total square footage of over 10,000 square feet. There some more nuance to our application, which we have posted online, and I can also send to folks if it's interested. One thing that I always emphasize about the grant is that the application needs to be submitted and approved before any work begins. So you can't receive this grant if you've already done this work. And so I always encourage people that if you're thinking about if you have a business and you're thinking about doing facade work, make sure you talk to us first so we can see if it's a fit before you get started on that. Next slide. So I just want to highlight a recent facade improvement grant. You might have seen this pretty new storefront on Eastern Avenue. This is Soccer Without Borders, a nonprofit that relocated their headquarters here. And so that's the before and after, and they are one of our facade improvement grant recipients. So that was a recent one that was fun to work with. Next slide. All right, so another program that we help facilitate that applies to Highlandtown is the State of Maryland Enterprise Zone program. And I know that it's kind of hard to see if you're in the stands here, but all of that blue in the map is eligible properties for the Maryland Enterprise Zone program. Next slide. And the Maryland Enterprise Zone program is a state program that provides real property tax relief and income tax relief. It's all listed there. We have an enterprise zone administrator. So if anyone here, anyone who think you might be in that area of the map and are interested in seeing that if this program is fit, I can connect you with our enterprise zone administrator who knows the details of this program. Next slide. I also want to highlight the Made in Baltimore program. You may have seen this logo in shops that you've been at or been to a Made in Baltimore pop-up store, but the Made in Baltimore program is part of Baltimore Development Corporation and supports product-based businesses and makers here in Baltimore City. So makers based in the city can register for Made in Baltimore affiliation and help be promoted through pop-up shops, be eligible for free business development workshops. And Made in Baltimore and their staff work really hard advocating for policies here in the city and even the state that help support our urban manufacturing ecosystem. Next slide. So that was just, I tried to touch on our main areas of support, but like I said, I'm happy to have individual conversations with whoever to sort of hear more about your situation, your business, and how we might be able to be of assistance. So I've got my information on the slide. I also will stick around and I have business cards that I give out. So, feel free to give me an email or a call anytime. I'm here to see how the city can be of help to our small businesses and our big businesses, any business here in Southeast Baltimore.
Thank you.
Yep.
The one
Yeah.
question that I had is just that since a lot of our neighborhood is primarily Latino,
Mhm.
origin, and some of them are not necessarily like fluent English speakers. You have like translational services available so that they can access these same resources.
Yes, my boss, Luis Cardona, who is the director of our East team, he is a native Spanish speaker, and works with all of our Spanish speaking businesses, so I can connect anyone with Luis if they would like to speak with someone in Spanish.
Perfect.
Yep.
So a lot of our businesses are not permitted. Do you know how many businesses don't have permits?
I do not.
I mean, they still do business, which is great, but a lot of them don't have permits.
Yeah, I mean, we're not an enforcement agency, so yeah, like that's, so we're not, that wouldn't really fall onto us for enforcement, but to answer your question, I don't know.
Okay. Is it easy for them to get permitted?
I don't have an answer for you right this moment.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, I'll stick around if anyone else has any questions afterwards or wants to grab a business card. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm just. Easy.
Thanks, Alex. Those who don't know, the facade grant program has been quite robust on Eastern Avenue, and the ones that kind of jump to my mind are at the intersection of Clinton at Eastern Avenue. There's Maisa Mart, and then on up the hill, up the street on that side of the street is a series of businesses, including Queen of Sheba, which is a Middle Eastern restaurant, and a Chinese restaurant. And you notice that the facades on those are all kind of on a theme. They're kind of coordinated, and all of them were done at one time as a coordinated effort and funded at least in part through the facade grant program. And there's been several others, as she said, Soccer Without Borders, Rust and Shine received a facade grant and did the front of their store for it. And it's an opportunity for businesses to kind of put their best foot forward and receive some help. And it's good for the whole community when they actually have a little bit of design guidance too, because some business people have a really good eye and some do not. And if you can, give them some options and a little bit of guidance, it can only help us to have a better looking business district. Through funding and some other things. So it's a really good thing. I do have a question, Alex. A year or so ago, I sat in on a group conversation with people from the Southeast CDC. And they were talking, I think it was one of several conversations going around the city to discuss what could make our city more attractive to investment and that kind of thing. And obviously this program is designed to do that. What I had suggested is sort of on the lines of what you're doing. I had suggested that it be a city agency, or would be a small one, but to have what I was calling a concierge to help business people navigate the permit process, because it's maddening. We had a business in the neighborhood who applied for a live entertainment license, and it was just insane the number of things that hoops that she had to jump through that were not really related to it, because it caused every other agency to pop up and say, well, now we have to come and inspect your kitchen again, and now we have to come and we have to do this other things again. Brought the liquor board in, and really all it was they wanted a permit to have live entertainment, which would be good for, and the community signed off on it. It's very, very frustrating for businesses when they don't know what they have to do. Like, for example, she would go to the permit office to say, I need a permit to do this. They'd say, all right, well, get this. Is that everything I need? Yes, well, that's everything you need. And then of course she'd turn it in and find out there was another step. And the answer that she would get when she would complain about it would be, well, that's all you need to do from us. You still have to deal with all the other people that have kind of the agencies that have piled up. And it's a real detriment to business within our city if there's not some guidance. I mean, it's not looking for free funding, not looking for anything of that sort, just somebody to say, what boxes do I have to check to do this? All of them. Not just what this agency wants, but all of them. And does that kind of fall under your purview? Okay. Awesome, love it. Any other comments, questions? All right, that's a wrap. We are off again in July and August. We're back third Monday in September. And but that does not mean that we're not doing things. So if you need anything at all, email 21224@gmail. And I try to check into them at least several times a week and get things out there and answer questions and keep calls rolling and such. Go ahead, Natalie.
First Friday's happening.
Oh, first Fridays are still happening. Yes, for those who are not in the know. Our monthly event is a art walk throughout the neighborhood to visit the various galleries and restaurants and bars, sometimes businesses, that kind of thing. With a real focus on the arts, but the idea is to bring people out into the neighborhood to patronize our businesses. And what's more important than that? Well, it would be to come out and have a good time in our neighborhoods so that you come back. Tell your friends what a good time you had, and then you come. Maybe your friends buy a house in the neighborhood, and we get new neighbors, and it's really good for everyone. So thank you for the reminder. First Friday of every month, with the exception of maybe January and February. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thank you. See everybody in September.
It's temporary.